For most of my life, I have really struggled to connect with the Qur'an. I've tried studying the Arabic, I've tried reading translations, but every time I tried these endeavors, I always hit a dead end. I could never connect to the Qur'an in a way that was powerful, transformative, inspiring. And then one day, I stumbled on this amazing discovery which changed everything for me. And now what I would like to do is share that story with you. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Miraj Mohideen. I'm the author of the award-winning book Revelation, the story of Muhammad, peace be upon him. Now this is a book that took me roughly 15 years to write, and in many ways it represents this lifelong quest that I've had to connect powerfully with the Qur'an in a way that unlocks its potential. Now, about 2 decades later, since I first started writing this book, I wanted to start sharing with you all the lessons and all the stories that I accrued on this fairly challenging journey. So, in order to do that, what we need to do is we need to go all the way back to 2003, when I had just finished medical school and I was studying for the big medical school exam. It's called the USMLEs. And I was sitting there in Chicago in this library. In fact, it was a little bit like this. Just like this right here, I had a whole stack of books, immunology, microbiology, chemistry, anatomy. I had all these books which I had completely mastered. But I was wondering, how is it that I can do this whole stack right here, but this one book that I'm trying to learn my entire life has been so hard for me to learn? I know if I can do this, why can't I do this? That's the question that I had. Let's go back to the office. The Qur'an. So I decided I am going to study this book the way I studied those books that you saw in immunology and organic chemistry and all that stuff. Why can't I just know this one single book? If this is my user's guide to how to live a powerful, beautiful, happy life, it can't be that hard. I'm willing to throw out a user guide to building an IKEA desk, but not when it comes to building my life. And so I did what I have done so many times in the past, and I'm sure that this will resonate for those of you who've had a similar experience, because a lot of people are telling me this has been their experience. What I did is I started with page 1, okay? So I have the Quran right here, opened it up to the first revelation, the first chapter. Chapter 1 is Surah Fatiha. Now Surah Fatiha is called the opening. It's somewhat like the Lord's Prayer for those of you who are familiar with it from the Christian tradition, but it's only 7 verses. And basically, it's 3 major parts. You're praising God, you're telling God how much you need His support and His help, and in the end you're asking for His guidance. Okay, so just very basic kind of explanation of that. And that's an appropriate opening. But when the second chapter, you get to the second chapter, Surah Bakr, okay, it's the longest chapter in the Quran, and it's very heavy. You talk with the beginning of the story of Adam, like we talked about in the previous video, but then it gets into a lot of history, of tribes. It gets into, a lot of heavy legal stuff, like inheritance laws, what you should eat, what you're not supposed to be eating, and it kind of like you hit the ground running. Well, I read that also, and then I went to the 3rd chapter, and the 3rd chapter is Surah Ali Imran, so it's a family of Imran, or it's named after the family of Jesus Christ, peace be upon him. But again, Surah Imran's a very heavy chapter also. It's talking about kind of the legalities of self-defense and warfare and stuff like that. So it's a very heavy chapter. And then you get into Surah Nisa and Surah Ma'idah. So these are names of chapters that keep coming after it. And what has happened to me, literally, every time I have tried to read the Quran from cover to cover, ever since I was in high school, I have always struggled. And I will tell you this, just as a little background on just kind of where I come from. My background, my parents are immigrants from India. My father is a physician scientist. My mother used to be a professor of British literature. I grew up in a very academic household, okay? It was a lot of reading, writing, a lot of analysis. My mother is the one who taught me how to read the Quran in Arabic, and she sat by my side and we read it day after day after day. My father is the one who kind of instilled in me and my siblings a thirst for knowledge and curiosity and asking questions when you don't understand anything and thinking critically. So that's kind of my background. So I grew up with kind of an appreciation for the Islamic sciences and the Islamic tradition. That being said, having been someone who's read the Quran many times over and over and over again in the Arabic, up till medical school, I can't say that I'd actually read the Quran cover to cover in English. And I definitely did not know, what was in any given chapter, the way I knew if you asked me a question in pathology or biochemistry or so forth. So, why was I unable to get through this Quran cover to cover? And I'm curious to know, and let me know in the comments, how many of you have tried to read the Quran, but you've struggled over and over again, and you feel like you're not really connected to this user's guide the way you theoretically should be, or you feel like you should be. Well, the issue that I ran into was this. And I kind of I'll draw this out for you guys because I think this will make more sense. If you read the Quran cover to cover, okay, let's just pretend, just to make things simple, it's a clock. Let's just draw a clock right now. So a normal clock goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, right? So if you start the clock right here, and pretend this clock is like a book. You're going to read hour 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5. You're going to go all the way around, and it's going to make sense. Well, interestingly, the Quran is not compiled in the order that it was actually revealed. In fact, if you look at the Quran, it actually in many ways begins with the last chapters. And if you just open up the Quran and go cover to cover, it kind of goes from 12 to 11 to 10 to 9. Then it might go to 5, but then it goes back to 8, and then to 7, to 6, to 5, then maybe to 3, then back to 5, then to 2, and it ends with 1, okay? So many of the first revelations that were revealed to the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, are actually at the end of this book. So if I turn on the side here, here's the beginning and here's the end. A lot of the beginning revelations are actually in the back of the book, and a lot of the last revelations are in the beginning of the book. And it didn't dawn on me till I was just racking my brain, why can't I get through this Quran? And I realized that when I was starting with chapter 12, let's just say, and going to 11 and 10, it was too heavy for me. And I didn't have a foundation to understand what I was reading. It's kind of like trying to learn trigonometry before you learn fractions, right? It's like trying to take graduate level courses before you've taken the undergraduate level courses, before you've taken the high school courses, the elementary school courses, or even gone to kindergarten. And what I realized for myself is that I need to go back to kindergarten again. I need to build myself up slowly and methodically and have a basic understanding of, how do I read? And then how do I read words, and then sentences, and then paragraphs, and then how do I read an essay, and then how do I read a novel? But if you just start out trying to read a novel without understanding the A, B's, and C's, it's really challenging. You probably will never finish that novel. And that's been my experience with the Quran, is that I was having this issue of not being able to get through the book because I was just kind of going at it in a way that was not jiving with the way my brain works. And so I thought to myself, what am I really trying to achieve here? And this is kind of an interesting conversation that I want to have with you guys, because I think this is important for a lot of you who have goals out there and who are trying to achieve things for yourselves. Is I did this thing which I do in sports a lot, and this is very common in sports psychology. And let me just draw this out for you because I think it's going to be easier here. So this is, let's just say this is me right now. Okay. This is me now. And I have a goal for myself. So the goal we'll put over here. Okay. Now, if you don't know clearly what that goal is, that's a problem. So one of the first things that you need to do is just really itemize, what exactly do I want to be? Who do I want to be? Like, what am I trying to achieve? And so let's just draw a bigger, more powerful version of myself here. These are my biceps right here, and I'm obviously very happy right now because I've achieved my goal. Okay. Now, how do you get from where you are here to your goal right here? Now, a lot of people, they can, some people don't even think about exactly what their goal is, so it's not a clearly defined goal, and that's like a whole kind of introductory problem. But say you have a good sense of what you want to be, and for the moment, like literally think about your goals. Like, what are your goals this year? Are you trying to get in shape? Are you trying to read more books? Are you trying to learn a new language? Are you trying to do something with your kid? Whatever it is, you got to be very clear about that goal. Now, the next step that you need to do is, you can't just be like, all right, go. Because if you just say, okay, you know what, I want to, whatever, I want to read 30 books, go, right? A lot of times what happens is you begin with a really good intention and you start like this, but then something happens, someone gets sick, or, you find a new hobby and it kind of takes you off the path, but then you remember that you wanted to go to this goal, but that goal opened up a new goal, which is more interesting than that goal, and you kind of end up in no man's land. Or you kind of, something else happens where you actually are doing fine, but life gets in the way and blocks you, and you have to do a detour around that goal, but by the time you do the detour, the year is over. So whatever happens, a lot of people kind of swerve, but they never quite hit their goal, which is right here. And so one thing that I do often, which has been very helpful for me to achieve my goals, is do this thing that I like to call kind of reverse engineering, okay? So reverse engineering a goal. How do you do that? Well, let's just take a look at this here. Let's just draw this again. So this is me right here. And I'm not that happy with some part of my life that I want to improve on. So this is now. And then this is me right here. So again, the bigger version of me, the happier version of me. Something about me is different, okay? And in this example, I said I'm stronger. Maybe my heart is stronger. My relationships are stronger. Something is happening that I love, okay? So I really want to be this guy right here. How do I get there? Well, in reverse engineering, what I like to do is I like to not think about what's the next step from here, but what is the place that I have to be just before I'm this person? So who am I right here? And once I figure out who I am right here, then I ask, well, who do I have to be right here to become this person right here, to become this person right here? And I keep planning it backwards, like this. Okay? And when I plan it backwards, all you need to do now is just, if you can get to this place, you know it's going to be very easy to become this person that you want to be, which was your goal, right? And the only way to get to here is just to worry about getting from here to here, from here to here, and you just keep working it backwards. Now the beauty of this system for me is a lot of times people will come up to you and if you see someone who's done something incredible, they've lost 100 pounds, or they've learned a new language, like we said, or they've stopped drinking, something like that. You say, how did you do that? Because to me, it just seems impossible. I have a friend of mine who gave up sugar completely. I just can't imagine giving up sugar completely. It just seems like this monumental task. It's like building a pyramid. How did you do that? And so a lot of times what happens is that we tend to just look at the beginning and the end, and we don't see all these intermediate steps in it. And if you break it down to intermediate steps, you won't get overwhelmed by the challenge. Because if you just look at yourself at the top of the mountain, if you're at the bottom of Everest and you look at the top, most people will just faint and be like, I'm never going to make that. But if you break it down to the base camp and camp 1 and camp 2 and camp 3, and you're only concerned about making it to the next level camp, all of a sudden, Everest is not this huge mountain. It's just 4 mountains that are just stacked on each other. And every day, all you have to do is just climb one small mountain. And so in the same way, you clearly define what the goal is, and then you clearly lay out all the steps right here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we have 7 steps to get here. So we'll say this is number 7, this is 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. So it takes 7 little base camps to get to the peak of the mountain. And all I'm going to do today, and this is the beauty of the system, is that my world, this is what I want and this is what I've engineered. But as for today, my world is just this. Let's see here. My only concern is how do I get to level 1? Right? How do I get to level 1? That's all I want to do. And once I'm at level 1, all I'm worried about is how do I get from 1 to 2. And once I get to 2, all I'm worried about is how do I get to 3. And you keep moving, and you keep moving. And then pretty soon, you're knocking on the door. You're at 7, and you're right next to your goal right here, and you've climbed the mountain. Now, the reason why I'm saying this whole thing about how to achieve your goals is because this was my mindset in 2003 when I was struggling with the Qur'an. Because I asked myself, what am I really trying to achieve here? Why do I'm so passionate about connecting with the Qur'an? Why am I so frustrated with the fact that I'm not connecting with it? And what I realized at the end of the day is what I was trying to do is I was trying to very specifically be like this one person who I really admire a lot. I had heard about a fair amount, I had read about, and I felt like, you know, this person is the ideal version of me. And that person, you'd believe or not, is not a prophet. It's not even Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. That person for me is a person who goes by the name of Abu Bakr. Now, Abu Bakr, for those of you who aren't familiar, I'll use a blue marker for him. This is the promised land for me. This is the goal, right? This is me right now. And I want to be like this guy right here. Who's Abu Bakr? Abu Bakr was roughly the same age as the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. He was one of his first, he was like his first disciple. And in many ways, he was his best friend. He was the Prophet Muhammad's right-hand man, and in some ways, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was Abu Bakr's right-hand man. So it's just basically his best friend, okay? And just to put it in perspective, you know, everyone always wanted to visit the Prophet Muhammad, you know, at his house. Just like people wanted to go talk to Jesus, I'm sure people wanted to talk to Aaron and Moses. Everyone wanted to be his best friend. But when everyone else used to go and visit the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, at his house, the Prophet Muhammad every day would go and visit his best friend, and that person was Abu Bakr. Abu Bakr was someone who, at the end of the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he needed someone else to lead the prayer because the Prophet Muhammad was too weak to lead the prayer. And he said that the only person who can lead the prayer is this person by the name of Abu Bakr, his best friend. Because he had been through the journey the longest, he understood the Qur'an the best. This person was just really, like, you know, heads and shoulders above the competition. But Abu Bakr's daughter said he can't lead the prayer because he cries too much when he reads the Qur'an. When he recites the Qur'an, he's just so emotionally, psychologically moved by it, he can't read it. And the Prophet insisted, no, Abu Bakr has to lead it, he has to lead it, he has to lead it, and eventually he did it. So in Abu Bakr, I see the example of someone who created a personality for himself, who grew to be someone who is the most beloved in many ways to the Prophet Muhammad. And this is not in any way to minimize any of the other companions. You know, this is something we will get into, this whole conversation about this, because of course he was very close to many of his disciples, most notably his cousin Imam Ali, and, you know, his friends Umar and Talha and Uthman and all of these friends, and obviously his wives and his family and so forth. But Abu Bakr is really a special person, and I feel like I personally kind of relate to him the most, but that's just me. Anyway, I wanted to know the Quran like Abu Bakr, and I wanted to be moved by it the way he was. So how do I do that? Well, I asked myself this question. You know, if I could just ask him, if I could just go to like my coach, Abu Bakr, and be like, hey, Abu Bakr, how did you do it? Like, what's your secret to becoming the person who is so admired by the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, who is his best friend, and who really weeps when they hear the Quran or recite the Quran, so moved by it and moved to live a powerful, beautiful life? How do you do it? Like, if you're the coach, tell me what to do and I will just follow the directions, because I have tried to read this book so many times that you're crying over, and it's just not doing it for me the way it's supposed to. So I played that mental exercise in my head, and I had this feeling that Abu Bakr would have said the following to me. He would have said, look, if you want to be like me, right, just do what I did. Don't come up with some new system. Just follow in my footsteps. Like, literally, follow in my footsteps. Because I never read the Qur'an. Okay, this is me pretending I am speaking as Abu Bakr. I never read the Qur'an. And you have to understand something. The Qur'an was not a book during their time. It was just an oral tradition. It was compiled into a book a few years after the death of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Abu Bakr would say, Don't worry about reading the Quran. Don't start with Fatiha and Bakr and all. Don't, the chapter 1, chapter 2. Don't do that. All you got to do is hang out with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Just be by his side. Just roll with him wherever he goes. Hang out with him. Eat with him. Spend time with him. Travel with him. Go on business trips with him. Just hang out with him. That's all I did. And when I was with the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, whenever the Quran came to him, he would give it to me. Take the system update when it's ready for you. Don't try to like jump into it too fast because you're not ready for it. Your life isn't there yet. So I hung out with the Prophet Muhammad, Abu Bakr might say, and when I was with him and we were dealing with this issue, then we got the divine download and it helped us get through this issue. And when we got to the next issue, then we got the divine download and we got to the next issue. So just take it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Don't go backwards 12 to 11 to 10 to 9 because it's not going to make sense to you. Hang out with the Prophet Muhammad. And after I did this kind of mental exercise, I literally like I had the Quran in my hand and I just put it down. Like, you know what? We're taking a break from each other because I've tried to get through you so many times, and every time I've tried to like kind of get through you, I just kind of get blocked. And I don't know why that is, but that's my story. I'm just being totally honest with you. I could not get through this book. And so I just put it down and decided that I was just going to walk in the shoes of Abu Bakr and become really good friends with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, be in his life and hang out with him. And the only way I knew how to do that was to read his biography. And there are a lot of biographies on the life of the Prophet Muhammad. The one that I picked up was this one by an author by the name of Martin Lings. He goes also by the name of Abu Bakr as-Siraj ad-Din. So interestingly enough, his first name is Abu Bakr also. Now, he has this book called Muhammad, His Life Based on the Earliest Sources. This is an incredibly powerful book, okay? One of the most widely read books in the English language, one of the most widely read biographies of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, in the Western world. I picked up this book because a lot of people who I knew recommended it very highly. They said it's a very good book. It's very close to the early sources. There are a couple of errors in it, but they're minor and they're few. And I'll point them out to you as we kind of move through this video series here. But that being said, it's an incredibly powerful book where you really feel like you are living in 7th century Arabia and going through life with the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, at his side, meeting all of his companions, understanding his family, understanding the trials and the successes and the overall beauty of his life. So that's what kind of kicked off my journey with Revelation, is I put down the Quran and I picked up the biography of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And I'll tell you this book changed my life. And the books that I read after this book also changed my life and have had a profound effect on who I am, and is the exact reason that I'm here speaking to you guys. Because the legacy of the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, that I realized one of his legacies is that he was there to help other people. And now that I understand him better and I want to be like him and be like the people around him, I want to help people too. I want to help people find happiness again, find contentment again, find peace and find beauty again. Just like the Prophet Muhammad and Prophet Jesus and Moses and all the prophets who came before did that. And that's what this whole Revelation series is all about. So I hope this gave you a little background on like kind of why I started getting into the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him. I hope this drawing on goal setting and how to achieve that was helpful for you. You know, this can work not just for trying to understand the Quran. This works for trying to lose weight. This works for lowering your cholesterol, trying to learn more material, trying to become a black belt. This works for anything that you want to do. It's just break it down, look at where you are, look at realistically where you want to be, and then work backwards, reverse engineer it, and then only worry about getting to the next level. Forget about the future. And if you do that, it's much, much easier to achieve incredibly huge goals that would inspire people around you, would daze them and dazzle them. But you know the real secret. You just took it one step at a time. It was actually just a set of small goals that when you add them up, it just looks monumental. But just a little tidbit that I thought might be helpful for you. Definitely is I've used it a lot in a lot of the goals that I've tried to achieve for myself. Let me know if any of this was helpful for you. I would love to hear what your goals are, okay? I think it's so exciting when we set goals and we try to kind of live by them. Let me know what some of your goals are and what are you trying to achieve? You know, is this in the health sector? Is it spiritually, psychologically, relationships. What are some of the challenges that you're having? What are the goals that you guys are looking to right now? And I'm super excited. I think the next episode will dive a little bit deeper into my relationship with this book and how it started my journey to write my book, Revelation, the story of Muhammad, peace be upon him. So, if any of this was helpful for you, I'd love to hear in the comments below, what's been your journey with studying the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, or trying to access the Quran? I would love to hear what your challenges were, what your successes were also. And for those of you who are still watching, this is my special gift to you who've made it to the end. Make sure you go to therevelationexperience.com. That's my website. I'll put it down right here. There, if you register, you will have access to my entire audio series, the audio companion to my book, Revelation, the story of Muhammad, peace be upon him. It's me walking you through, like in a podcast form, all of the major events that are happening throughout the entire book, and also with incredibly beautiful Qur'anic recitation interwoven throughout the entire experience. Honestly, I like that even more than I like my book, and it's all for you to have access to completely for free. All you have to do is register at the website and you will have complete access to all of that. So anyway, that all being said, in the next episodes, I'm going to continue telling you about my journey as I wrote my book, leading up to that moment where I had this boom, aha moment of how I was able to understand all the stuff that was happening in the life of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and how it applied to my life. And that's what we're here to talk about. This entire project, my mission is to try to make this meaningful for you in your life. So anyway, can't wait to see you guys in the next episode. I will see you guys soon, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.